Yeah, hello everyone. Welcome to my new video. And this video is, in this video, we're going to discuss about basics of mutual funds. So many of us would have heard of mutual funds through ads or through other sources, or maybe you would have itself, invested in these mutual funds. But okay, you have invested, that's good. But you should also understand like what are the mutual funds actually, like and how they actually work. Right? And you understand that because you're giving your hard-earned money to someone through mutual funds. So at least you understand okay how to select mutual funds. So if you want to select the mutual funds on your own, you also need to understand some terms that are associated with mutual funds. You also need to know okay this mutual fund is investing in which type of market, whether stock market or debt market or gold market, where they are investing. So you have to understand these all things before taking a decision on whether to invest in this mutual fund or not. So if you understand about mutual funds, it will become easier for you to select the mutual fund. So in my last three videos, actually, I discussed about basics of stock market. So in that, I discussed about like what are shares or stocks. So shares or stocks are basically it's like a certificate. So if you buy a stock, you will get a certificate, not in a physical form today, but in electronic form today, that you are basically an owner of this company, of which company you have brought the shares. So you become a partial owner of that company. That's what shares or stocks means. And so if you're owner of a company, if the company does very well in the long term, your stock will also do good, right? Your company is doing good, that means your stock will also do good and its price will increase and you can profit from that. But if the company does bad in the long term, the share price can go down also. Opposite is also true. And a very important point, I always want to tell this important point to everybody that performance of a company depends on the economy of a country. So stock market actually depends on the economy of a country. So you will see that whenever there is a recession, you will see that stock market is going down, maybe falling by maybe 50%, 60%, even 70% sometimes. And when there is a boom, the economy is booming, the GDP is increasing year by year, you will see increased stock market also, 70% increase per year, sometimes 70% increase you will see in a year itself, or 20%, 30% increase. So that's what you will see in the stock market. So basically, stock market depends on the economy of the country. And stocks are risky form of investment. You do not have any capital protection here. That okay, if I invested 10,000, I will get this 10,000 back. It's not the case. In other cases, let's say if you are doing FD, that is fixed deposit, or other forms of investment, at least you are sure that you will get this capital back plus some interest, 5 to 6%. But in stock market, no, it's not sure. That's why it's very risky. Even you can lose your capital itself in the stock market. But then the next point is that if you want higher returns, of course you have to take more risk because fixed deposit is very less risky, but it gives you 6 to 7% of return. If you want around 10 to 12% of returns, you have to take some risk. In stock market, at average, in long term, you get around 10 to 12% return. If you just invest in in the index fund itself, you get 10 to 12% returns in the long term. But that's also not sure. Do not think that okay, since that okay, it has been like in the history. In the history that till last 20 years, it has been 10 to 12 years. In the next 20 years, also it will be 10 to 12%. It's not sure. It can be higher than this also. It can go to 15% also if the country's economy do very well. It can be lower than 12% also, 10, 12%, or it can go to 5, 6% also if the country's economy does very bad. So that's what I want to tell you about stock market. If you want to understand more about this, watch my videos on the stock market. I'll paste the link in the description. Now, let's discuss what are the pros and cons of buying individual stocks. So let's say if you want to buy the stocks of the companies on your own, right? What are the pros and cons of this approach? So pros are of course that you get higher returns. So higher returns in the sense that a stock can go 100x in some years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 25 years. It has the chance to go 100x. And there are many stocks actually which have gone 100x. You can take example of the Eicher Motors, who are the maker of Royal Enfield bikes. Or maybe you can take example of Bajaj Finance, who are in financing. So these companies have gone 100x in like 20 years, 15 years. So there are many examples of these type of companies. And of course, in the long term, you will find more examples. If you take time frame of 25 years, you will see many companies who have gone 100x in that case. But do not take like 100x into your consideration, you should look at the CAGR actually. How much CAGR they're giving per year. If they're giving 12 to 15%, I think it's quite good. I mean, 12 to 15% CAGR per year. And another advantage, you feel like a owner since you are become so when you are buying stocks, you are becoming a partial owner of that company. So you feel like a owner of that company. So let's say I am an owner of Avenue Supermarts that runs DMart stores. So when I go to when I go to shop to DMart stores, I also feel like owner there, right? When I see the crowd there, okay, a lot of people have come here, so I feel happy that okay, basically this company is going to make more profits, right? Because more people are coming to buy from there, and the company is doing very good, right? That also I get that feeling also from there. And then there is inner happiness and proud feeling. Inner happiness that if you select a stock and it does very good in the long term, you get a lot of profit, right? It gives you a lot of happiness, right? And the other thing, you get a lot of knowledge in this because you cannot invest in stock market directly without having a knowledge of stock market. Of you should have knowledge of analyzing the companies, their balance sheet, like their financial reports, and also you should be able to at least analyze the economy itself, the sectors in the economy, like how IT sector is doing, and what is the future of other sectors, let's say manufacturing sector in India. So you should at least know about this, read news. You should at least keep on reading news. Then only you will know about this, what is going in the economy. What is going through the economy, right, of your country. So these are the pros of this. And what are the cons of this? Risk is very high. So I told you, right, a stock can become 100x, but opposite also true. A stock can lose like 99% or 90% of your money also. That also true actually. So you see the downside also, right? Upside is okay, unlimited, but downside is also like okay, basically you can lose your all your money, right? No capital protection is there. So these are the risk is very high here. Also, a lot of knowledge is required. You need to invest a lot of time in gaining knowledge about stock market, gaining knowledge on how to analyze companies, how to select stocks. You cannot pick a random stock and gamble on it. That okay, it will give you 100x returns, right? You have to analyze the companies. Then only, you can make good money in the stock market directly. And you will keep track of companies also. Let's say if you have decided that I want to invest in this stock, right? Then you need to keep track of how that company is doing over the years. How are the profits? How are the sales of the company? Right? You have to keep analyzing these also. But let's say, what if you do not want to do this? You do not want to invest directly in the stock market because you don't have time to maybe to gain this much knowledge, keep track of the companies, maybe keep on reading news, analyzing sectors. You don't have this much time, let's say, right? So, but still you want returns. You want around 10 to 12% return because if you see the returns from every it's quite less, right? 6 to 7%, but you want higher returns. You want to take risk, but you do not want to invest directly in the stock market. You want to maybe, okay, you are thinking that, okay, what if I can give this money to someone who has good knowledge of, let's say, stocks and stock market, let's say he or she has very good knowledge stock market. And what if they can invest your money in the stock market and whatever they gain from that, they give you, your capital plus whatever you have gained, they have gained back to you, but they charge you some amount of money, let's say 1 or 2% charge, and they give you the rest of the money, let's say, right? What if this is possible, right? So basically, actually, this is possible. That's why we have mutual funds. So mutual funds actually, what I talked about, right? That you give your money to someone who is expert in stock market, who has a very good knowledge of this, and they invest your money in stock market. That's where mutual funds comes in. So mutual fund, what they do is they collect a lot of money from investors, right? And they invest this money in different market instruments like stocks, bonds, gold. So in this video, I will normally focusing on the equity mutual funds. That is where the mutual funds invest in the stock market, but there are other types of mutual funds also where they're investing into gold or bond market, right? There are others also. And here in mutual funds, this money is managed by a expert who is very expert in financial. He has very good knowledge of finance, and they are known as fund managers who manage your fund. And here, only difference you will see now, everything is in control of the fund manager, not you. When you're picking up the stock directly, you took the decision whether to buy this stock or not, whether to sell it, when to sell it, everything you took the decision. But once you have given the money to the fund manager, it's not your headache. It's the headache of the fund manager to manage this money, which stocks to buy, when to sell it. Everything is headache of the fund manager. That's why you are not the owner of. You will not feel like the owners of the company now. right? So though that fund manager would have invested your money in some stocks, right? But now you are not the owner, right? You are indirect owner, but now at least the fund manager is the owner because he is managing your money, right? And normally he will feel proud if his mutual fund does good, right? Of course, you will get your returns back, but he will more feel proud, right? Because it is his job, and if he does, if his mutual fund, I mean, the fund that he's managing, he or she is managing does well, he will also feel proud of that. And how to invest in mutual fund? For this, you have to watch till end. Actually, this is the first part of the series. In the second part, I am going to answer some of the questions related to mutual fund that Mini has. In the first part, I'm just going to discuss about basics, what mutual funds are. Right? That's what I'm discussing. Now, the next part is understanding mutual fund terminologies. So this is important, I will say. Whenever you're going to buy mutual funds, you will see a lot of terms there. Not lot of, you will see 3 or 4 terms there. But at least you understand that what are those. Because if you do not understand that and go to buy some random funds, let's say, right? If you see some random number, you will say, okay, why this number is low for this fund and high for this, right? You will get confused, right? It's better to clarify what those means actually, right? And since you're investing a lot of amount of money, it's okay. I mean, you can invest this much time at least, right? In understanding this at least, right? Okay, you do not want to invest in stock market directly, it's fine. But since it's your hard-earned money, you should at least have some knowledge of mutual funds at least, right? What at least like which mutual funds to select, right? And you should understand these terms also. So let's go over these terms. I will also I will go to a site and through the example I will show you this after some time. So firstly, let's discuss the theory of this. So the first one is NAV. So NAV is actually not very important, but NAV stands for net asset value. So normally in every mutual fund, when you go to buy, you will see the NAV value there. Actually, NAV value is nothing. So when you go to buy a stock, you see the stock price there, right? And the stock price does not tell anything about the company. Stock price. If you just see the stock price and you want to find out, okay, whether this company X is better than Y or not, you cannot do that. You have to look at the earnings part of that company and other ratios of that company. I mean, only just seeing the stock price will not give you anything. Similarly, NAV is similar to what stock price is to stock market. NAV is to mutual funds. NAV will not tell you anything about the mutual fund. It's just a number. So it's kind of the number is similar to see in share market for a company you have a lot of shares, right? Then you have its market capitalization. Okay, I'm not going to go deep into that. But if you divide basically market cap by the number of shares, you get the stock price, right? Similarly here, if you divide, so in mutual funds, you have assets. So assets are the money that the investors have invested in this. So if you divide this money by total number of outstanding shares, so normally mutual funds also will divide this total assets into smaller chunks. So that if you want to buy some of the chunks, if you give top, okay, take that example below, so you will understand that. The mutual fund also does this. They also divide the assets into smaller chunks. So NAV is basically assets minus liabilities divided by total number of outstanding shares. Now, what is assets? Asset is simply the investments that you have, basically the investments that they have done in stock market or any market. Plus, they will also be sitting with some cash, right? Because if they are waiting for some good time to invest. Plus, they will also receive dividends from the company since let's say they are investing in equity stocks. What are the liabilities here? Liability, of course, they have to pay the employees, right? They are professionally run company. Somebody is managing the funds, right? You are giving the money. They are managing a fund for some fees, right? They are not. I'm providing the service for free. It's not a charity, right? So there will be employee costs. There are many employees there. Like there will be investment managers will be there. Someone will be analyzing the stock. They need staffs, right? So for all these costs, it costs you money, right? Then the office cost, if they have branches, everything, office, other costs are there. Then what is NFO? So NFO is like in stock market, when the company is going public, you have IPO, initial public offering. When the mutual fund, when a new mutual fund launches, in that you have NFO, new fund offering. And you can become one of the, basically, I will say new investor in that mutual fund when you participate in the NFO. But here the craze is not that. In IPO, you will have craze, right? Okay, if I get this stock, okay, and on the listing day it goes like 2x, I will sell that stock and I will earn a lot of profit. But in this, it's not okay because here it's not like okay when you have NFO, you will get some profit. Right? It's just a new fund. Wants to get launched, so they are giving you offering for this. There's no profit in this, I would say. Take example to understand what is NAV. One thing be clear in mind that NAV does not imply anything. It's just you are dividing the total number of assets by total number of outstanding shares. That's what NAV is, right? It does not mean anything. If let's say one fund has NAV of 10, other fund has NAV of 30, this does not mean that the fund that has NAV 30 is superior than the one having 10. Does not mean that. You cannot conclude this. Your stock price also, you can conclude that okay, this stock price is 10, this stock price is 30. So this okay, the stock having price 30 is like superior to the stock 10. No, you cannot decide this. Similar here, also you cannot decide it. You have to see the returns of the company here in the mutual funds. Like basically that NAV will keep on increasing because that's a net asset value, right? If the company does well, so whatever stocks they've invested in, those stocks do good, then this net asset value will keep on increasing over time, right? That's why this NAV is important, only to track the returns, nothing else. So do not focus much on NAV of a company when you are going for mutual funds. I will tell two more things that you should focus on actually in the next slide. Take example, let's say the asset of the company is 100 crores. So I'm not taking liabilities here because liabilities actually is very small part for mutual fund. If their asset is 100 crores, I will say 1% of the 100 crores will be their liability actually. So that's why I'm not taking. So if you subtract the liabilities, it is 99 crores, right? So I'm not considering that. So let's say number of outstanding shares is 10. So you get a NAV of actually around 10, right? That's your NAV 10. Now what actually that this means for you, I will say is so if you let's say if you have invested 1,000 rupees in this mutual fund, you will get 100 units of this mutual fund. So how many units you will get? It decided on the NAV. That's what NAV does. So basically, your money divided by NAV will give you how many units of this mutual fund you will get. Now let's say if you have obtained this, so how will you earn from mutual funds, right? Basically, this NAV will keep increasing if the mutual fund that fund itself does good, right? This NAV will keep on increasing over time. So if you have brought this units, mutual fund units at the NAV of 10. In the future, the NAV goes to 20. So basically your money has doubled, right? This 1,000 has now become 2,000. But actually it will not be exactly 2,000 because there's a 1% commission also. Okay, I'll talk about that later on because they also charge you some money for this, right? So that's what you should understand of NAV. The next slide. See, understanding terminology is very important because when you go and order a mutual fund, you will see these numbers. You should at least understand okay what these numbers are there. Next one is AUM or assets under management. It's quite simple to understand what is assets under management. So whatever money, right, the investors has given to the mutual fund, right? Plus they would have earned dividends or other things, right? All this, plus they would have cash and other stuff. These all are assets under management, right? And if you divide this AUM by total number of outstanding shares, you roughly get the NAV. That's what NAV is. That's why NAV is not important, but AUM is important. Assets under management is, I will say, not very important, but yeah, it's important because if the assets under management for a fund is high, that means more people are investing in this fund, right? And if it is very low, let's say asset management is 10,000 crore, right? That means a lot of people are investing in this. Maybe that, okay, they have seen that this fund is giving good returns in the long term, so they're investing in this, right? But if the AUM is very low, let's say 50 crore or 100 crores, it may be the case that nobody interested in this. One case can be that this fund is itself new. Other case can be also the returns has been poor for this fund and nobody interested in it. Next one is expense ratio. I will say expense ratio is also important. I told you mutual funds, they are not providing you the service for free. They're not doing it for charity. They will charge you some money. Let's say the expense ratio is 1%. That simply means that if your investment amount is 1,000 rupees, 1% of that, that is 10 rupees, goes to the maybe the your fund manager and basically to a company itself. And just 990 rupees is actually invested in that. So basically you are paying 1% of this money to the fund managers and other, I mean, company employees and others, buildings and everything, right? This you should understand. If the expense ratio is high, that simply means that the company is charging you more for managing your investment, right? That's why you should see expense ratio. So compare like the expense ratio of two funds having similar returns. Why other company charging you high? I mean, if they're giving you similar returns, why one is charging 2% and other is charging you just 1%? You should, I mean, think about this. Next three more important terms are direct. So you will see in the mutual, the funds will have a name. Let's say okay, I will say there is a company actually that manages this, right? So the company name plus fund name, and they will have regular plan, direct plan, growth plan, dividend plan. So what does this mean? So direct versus regular plan is quite simple. So direct is so okay, first let's discuss a regular plan. So a regular plan, what happens? You also have an advisor with you. So that company also provides you with an advisor. That advisor advises you, okay, which funds to invest in, when to exit this fund, when to increase the allocation to these funds. So basically, he or she is advising you on everything. That's why they will charge you some extra fees. So basically, here the expense ratio may be higher. It may be, let's say, 2%. But in a direct plan, normally you do not have an advisor. You have to decide yourself which funds to select, when to sell it, when to buy it, when to increase the allocation. In this, since you are doing it on your own, in direct plan, your expense ratio will be lower, let's say around 1%. And in regular plan, it will be higher, 2%. So I will normally recommend you to go with direct plan itself, because in most cases you should, I mean, see, 2%, giving 2% to the company is a quite lot of amount, right? So it's basically, if you can have some knowledge of mutual funds, you can save that 1%, right? 1% in long term is a lot of amount of money. Next one is growth versus dividend plan. So growth plan is, take for example, see, this is, so I'm talking about equity funds here. So in equity funds, when they are investing in stock market, they will also get some dividends. So dividends is basically, right, every company, when they have earned some profits, they will also share this profit with the shareholders. So in this, the mutual funds have invested in that stock, they will get the dividends from that company. Now they have two options. Either they can distribute these dividends back to the mutual funds. I mean, so the people who have invested in this mutual fund, right? They can distribute these dividends back to them. That is called dividend plan. Growth plan is that they will not distribute this to the people who have invested in the mutual fund. What they will do is they will put this money back into stocks again. They will buy some new stocks, or maybe in this stock itself they will invest this money. This is growth, because you are reinvesting your earned money again, right? That's why growth, because you will earn higher returns, right? When you are reinvesting your money again and again in the stock market, right? That's called return on capital employed actually. So that keeps on increasing. Then you have SIP versus lump sum investment. This is this term you are going to hear a lot of time. SIP versus lump sum. So take example of, let's say if you have 1 lakh rupees to invest in the mutual funds. So you can follow two approach. One is on one day itself in one fund you invest 1 lakh, right? The other approach is you select one mutual fund, one fund you have selected, but what you do is every month you invest only 10,000 rupees on first of every month when you get the salary, let's say, right? So you are following a systematic plan here, right? Every month you are dividing, so every month you are investing 10,000 rupees, right? That's SIP. Lump sum will, on like uh, 2 or 3 days, you are investing this 1 lakh rupees in one go. That's lump sum. Normally, lump sum is not considered good, because what will happen? Let's say stock market also goes through, I will say, peak and then boom. I mean, burst and boom, I will say, right? And if you invest a lump sum, right, all the money at one go at the peak of the stock market, and then the stock market crashes, right? And you are going to huge loss, right? But there is advantage also here in lump sum. Let's say the stock market is at the bottom, and then you do the lump sum, and then it goes to the peak. You have earned a lot of money. But the issue in stock market is that it's very tough to figure out the bottoms and peak in stock markets. So it's better to avoid this risk and go with SIP. Keep on investing some money every month. That's why it becomes less risky in the long term. And now let's go to the example. This is very important. Here you will see all this. So I will go. So Covera is one of the site actually, or a financial service. It provides you with the mutual funds. Like you can invest in mutual funds from here. It will list you all the mutual funds that are available, and then you can decide in which to invest. So okay, so you can see here, right? Growth plan and dividend plan is there. So okay, let me take some example. It's taking some time. Okay. So let's do one. I'll go to equity because I'm interested in equity, but there are other options also here. If you see, you have, if you see here, you have many other options here. Debt is there, hybrid. So I'm not going to discuss. I'm just going to discuss equity funds here. Now let's say in the equity also, again you have many categories. Actually, there are a lot of mutual funds available today. That's why it becomes confusing, like which one to select, right? So in a separate video, I will discuss about this, like which funds to select and how to select. But in this, I will just discuss the basics of this. So I'm going for the large cap fund. So large cap fund is they will invest in biggest companies in India, right? Now take example of this one, Axis Blue Chip, this one. Okay. Let me go back. I'll just show you. See, there is growth plan, dividend plan, right? Both are there. So now I'm selecting the growth plan because I want to reinvest my dividends into, but you can select dividend plan also. And this is direct plan, right? Direct is right. You do not have an advisor here. So Kuvera only provides mostly direct plans. They do not provide you the regular plan. For regular plan, maybe you can go to the mutual fund site itself, and then you can have the advisor from there. But I will advise you to go with the direct plan itself. Now let's click on this Axis Blue Chip Fund. This is managed by Axis company. So normally behind every mutual fund there is company, right, which is running these funds, right? They're charging you, and they are basically also making money, right? So this is managed by Axis company. Then you have Blue Chip Growth Direct Plan, right? Now let's look at the number. This is an equity fund. That means they're investing in stock market. This is a large cap fund. That means they invest in the bigger companies in India, right? Not in the smaller companies. Then you have EUM, asset under management. That's around 11,000 crores, right? That's huge amount of money. That means a lot of people are investing in this, right? You can compare this. You can easily check out the EUM for other ones, right? And see their EUM compared to this one. How many people are investing in that? Then you have TER. This is called expense ratio, I will say. It's around 0.47%. I will say it's quite okay. It's okay. 0.47% if they are charging for, and if they are giving you enough returns, it's okay. 0.47 is like, okay, whenever you give some money, they will basically take back 0.47% from that as fees. Then you have NAV. I told you, NAV is of no interest. It's 28. It does not tell you anything. Only if you go to, let's say here, right? NAV only helps in calculating the returns for this mutual fund. See here. If you go to here, so basically, okay. And also most of the funds, they compare their returns with some benchmark. So benchmark here are the index funds. So it is comparing with the Nifty 50. You have Sensex as another benchmark. Nifty 50 is one benchmark. So they're comparing the return with this. And you see the blue one is this fund, and the bottom one, I will see in the black that is there. That is the Nifty 50. And if you see, this fund has done well. If you compare it to the benchmark, and if you see how it is helpful, NAV is helpful. You see there, NAV here was around, I was 13 on 27 Jan 2014. It was around 13. Now, if you see here, the NAV has around increased to 35. That's why you calculate the CAGR returns over the years. NAV is useful for that. Other than that, NAV does not make any sense. Okay, all this you got. Another than you can see the returns over 5-year period, and maybe all you see here, right? 1 year return for this fund has in negative 5%. And for the category means that, okay, this large cap category, for large cap fund, it's been negative 16%. So it has done well, if you compare the category. And 3-year returns is 8%, category is again negative. So again, it has done well for 3 years also. And since launch, I think it's like 2013, I think it's since launch, it's given 12.3% return. That's quite good, right? They're charging you 0.47% of your money, but they're giving you 12.3% of your money. That is very good than the fixed deposit, right? So they've done good. Other than that, you will want to look at comparison. Okay, you do not want to look at this. Equity you want to look at, maybe maybe sometimes, because in most of the cases you're not interested about which stocks they are holding, and these stocks keeps on changing because they will sell some of these stocks, buy new stocks. You should not to see this, but sometimes you can see, okay, because this is holding Avenue Supermart, that is the company that manages DMart, Kotak Mahindra Bank, HDFC Bank. You can just see, okay, which are the companies they have and what are the sectors in which they have invested. They are mostly invested into banks, 21%. Computer software 8%. So basically they're investing in stocks, right? Every stock is a company, right? In some sector. So that's why. So this is you should understand about this thing. And if you want to invest, you see you get the SIP option, SIP option, and the lump sum option also, right? In SIP, how much money I can in one go. So let's say if I want to 30 rupees, can I? Let's maybe invest now. Do this? No, I cannot. At minimum, you need 500 rupees to invest in this fund. That's quite low, right? With just 500 rupees, you can start investing in mutual funds. That's one very good thing about mutual funds. Then also you can have lump sum amount also. You can do this also. So these are all related to mutual funds. And I think if you want more information about these mutual funds, I will say, other than Kuvera, just do this, copy this, paste it here, plan here. you will get money. You will go to money control side. It's a direct plan on money control. It also has a lot of information, I will say, about this mutual fund. You'll again see same thing, NAV here, regular or direct, which one you want to see the returns for, what is the fund size, that is the asset under management, what is the expense ratio, what is the category. So in this category, large cap, sorry, category, how much other funds are charging. Average is around 1.2%. So that means this company charging you less. That's good. Then if you go below, so if you see here, this scheme, that this fund in 1 year has given negative 5.05% return. And the benchmark they are comparing with has given negative 18%. This fund, of course, done well, right, compared to the benchmark. That's good, actually. Now, if you go to returns, you can see returns in 1 week, 1 month, 3 months. So if you have invested 1,000 rupees on this date, what are your returns today, right? 5 years, if you have invested 1,000 rupees on 6 May this month, your returns would have been this much. And your CAGR, you should look at basically the annualized returns. How much is the CAGR? That's important. In the 5 year, it's around 8%. And since its inception, it's around 12. That's what we saw there also, 12 and 8%. Then you can look at SIP returns also, SIP returns. That's very important to look at SIP returns than lump sum returns, because you are not going to invest all your money at one point. So the above you see, this is normally the lump sum kind of return. So if you invested money lump sum on this date, what is the return today? But this is SIP returns. What this means is that if you have started your SIP on this date, 6 May 19, and you have done 1,000 rupees SIP every month, in 1 year, your investment would have been 12,000, right? Correct? That's right? 1,000 you're investing every month for 1 year. Your total investment 12,000. And your latest value actually will be lesser than this. I told you, right? There is no capital protection here. In the 1 year time frame, you would have lost your money and you are basically at negative 10.07 returns, right? So that's what. But over 5 year, if you see 5 year, so if you have started from May 15 and your total investment would have 60,000, now your latest value would be 72,000. That means annualized return of 7%. You are making 7% per year. That's okay. Kind of FD, if you say, right? It's okay. If you're getting, I will not say it's quite good, because 7% you can get through FD also. But this is for 5 year. I normally see the returns over 10 year period. And also you're seeing the returns because you have coronavirus now, and a lot of stock market has fallen. Now you are seeing the returns. But if you're seeing the returns maybe 3 months back, this would have been 15%, right? You were quite happy that time. So do not go on the returns. It changes from time to time. In the now market that is gone down, you are seeing low returns. Once the market again goes up, you will see high returns here. Then you can look more thing here also, like how they have invested. They have equity holding of 78%, and rest of them maybe they are having in cash or something. And out of this money, 72% has been in large cap companies. Other money they would have some small cap or other cap, their mid cap, small caps also. And these are again the same, in which stocks they have. And one advantage here is that you can have a detailed portfolio analysis there. Like you can get all the companies in which they have invested. See here, view complete holding. Sorry. So you see all the companies in which they have invested almost. Yeah. Normally in Covera side, you get the top 10 companies. And in Money Control also you get top 10 by default. But if you expand this, you will get all the companies. You can see how many percent they are holding in each. So in Avenue Supermarts, out of their 100% money that they have invested 7% money in Avenue Supermarts, right? Other 7% they have invested in Kotak Mahindra Bank, right? So similar to this. So that's all about basics of, I will say, mutual funds, right? And I hope you would have understood, right? What is mutual funds, right? What are the things you should consider when you're investing in mutual fund? What are SIP, direct plan, dividend plan, growth plan, regular plan, everything, right? And that's all for this video. In the next video, I'm going to answer some of the questions that most of the mutual fund, who are going to invest in mutual fund, they ask. I will answer those questions in the next video, actually. So keep watching this series where I'm going to discuss about mutual funds, and I will also discuss about how to select mutual funds. And I will also share like in which mutual fund I have invested and why I have invested in a mutual fund. I will also share that with you. That's all for this video. Thank you.